Welcome to the Rich Report, a podcast with news and information on the world of startups. Today my guest is from Spotlight TMS. We have Tony Knopp, who's the CEO and co-founder of the company. So welcome to the show, Tony.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Well, Tony, I'm curious about this. I've been mad at Ticketmaster since the day I started doing business with them, and
you and the world.
We and the rest of the world. So why don't you tell us more about Spotlight and go through your... I brought your slides up here, and we'll do Q&A at the end.
Sure, absolutely. I appreciate it. Well, what we do with Spotlight, to keep it easy, we help companies manage and track everything to do with sports and entertainment tickets. And what we do is we answer the age-old question that we get regularly from every business that's out there buying tickets. There's always that question of the corporate fat cat up in the luxury suite, or, is this possibly a boondoggle? And, we regularly ask everyone we meet, have you ever taken a business contact to an event? And if you haven't, do you know somebody who has? If you did it work? How do you know? And how does the company know? And I think what really blows the hair back is that people, when they understand that this is a $16 billion global business annually, and it's about 124 million tickets globally. So 124 million times a year, somebody's going to a sporting event on a company's dime. And we finally took a look at that and said, is this working, and how? Can we tangibly understand how that's working? And can we find a way to make that more efficient, make life easier for the people that are doing it? What we believe is Spotlight is much to sports tickets what Salesforce.com is to sales automation. And to kind of draw on that a little bit, before CRM became popular, a lot of people were doing their Salesforce automation by Excel spreadsheets, handwritten notes, whatever they could. Right? I'm trying to find a way to automate the process of reaching out to contacts and keep a centralized database, so we're not reaching out to the same people multiple times or calling the same guy at the same time twice in the same day. And that was a major pain point for business, and it's turned into a multi-billion-dollar business. We believe Spotlight is the same answer for sports tickets and event tickets today. There's $16 billion in tickets out there, and people are trying to answer that pain with Excel spreadsheets or home-built systems and really trying to find a way to automate that process. And we believe that's what Spotlight is. We believe Spotlight answers that. The next slide you'll see, the business challenges slide, this really talks to what we're answering, right? There are companies out there spending $16 billion a year. Some firms spend $100,000 a year. Some firms spend all the way up to $100 million a year. And when they're doing that, they're not just doing it for fun. They believe that they can strategically use these assets to drive revenue. More importantly, they want to make sure that the right tickets are getting in the right hands. Now, if you were a very hot prospect for me, I want to make sure that you're getting the tickets for when the Miami Heat are playing the Boston Celtics, as opposed to perhaps somebody in the mailroom using those tickets, because they have significant value. What we really want to do is help leverage that use across the entire company and do so with a consistent business process. That is possibly the least sexy thing we can say about Spotlight, that we're following processes and workflows. But when you understand the alternative, you understand why that's so important. A lot of companies who don't manage their tickets effectively get audited for such, and if you're found to not be in compliance with the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act or a number of different regulatory compliance issues, fines get north of $10 million, and those are annual fines. So we look to monitor and maintain those financial controls, the tax and the ethics compliance. As you can imagine, having power over something so emotional can create corruption. I can tell a couple of stories from our current use. We had one customer where a gentleman that was responsible for managing the tickets took the tickets every year, took half the tickets down to the BMW dealership and traded them for his own personal car. And he got away with it for 8 years before they finally got audited, and that's when they got caught. The company paid a $12 million fine. Turned out he was driving a new Beamer every year. Hey, great work if you can get it, right? But not what they were hoping for. And that suite only cost them about $100,000 a year to the company. So you assume that $12 million fine, that's a pretty expensive ticket. So the introduction to us on our header slide, the next slide, is that Spotlight TMS gets tickets into the right hand, driving business you can measure, supported by superior customer service for clients like these. And as you can see, some of these are household names, AT&T, Nike, Oracle. We work with Aon, Fox Sports, a number of firms that you've heard of. And we work with each one of them to make sure that they're getting the most out of what they're doing with sports and entertainment tickets. So what I really want to focus on, I know it can be a little bit confusing, so we try to make it visual. On the next slide, you'll see the rat's nest. That's the current ticket market. This is $16 billion on an annual basis. And in the middle of this market, you can see AT&T. You have all of these providers above and around AT&T trying to sell them inventory. The Masters is calling them, trying to sell them sponsorships. The World Cup would like them to buy a couple of suites. The NBA has 30 different teams calling into them on a day-to-day basis. StubHub wants them to buy all their tickets through StubHub. And all of these different providers work with and against each other. It's a big co-opetition rat's nest where AEG works with Ticketmaster, who works with the NBA, and they're all trying to sell AT&T something. And once they sell AT&T's suite, it's up to AT&T to try to communicate the availability of that asset to their 110,000 employees. And as you can imagine, that's difficult, right? This is not a gift card that's just continually going to be there. This is an expiring asset. You know, the game's next Saturday. If you don't use it, that's it. It's not worth anything. It's an expensive bookmark at that point. So right now, what we see, the way it's set up, you have this decentralized process where, you know, maybe the NBA is selling stuff into AT&T, and AT&T is trying to get it used, but maybe their staff doesn't know it exists, so now they're calling the NBA directly and buying tickets. Maybe they're double buying. Maybe they're buying tickets when AT&T already has something. And you have all these different interests fighting one another. What this causes is AT&T to take a step back, or a company like them, and say, there's no clarity here. There's no control. We need to figure something out. This is a mess. We're spending a significant amount of money, tens of millions of dollars annually. We need to make sure that we're getting the best out of this. 43% of all sports tickets go to waste as of today from corporations. That, I believe, is even a little low. That's the number we see from the customers we get into. I often draw the analogy of house cleaner, right? You always clean up a little bit before the maid shows up. I believe by the time we get there, they've cleaned up a little bit. There's significant fraud. One gentleman we saw selling company tickets did so for $86,000 for one Super Bowl. Walked away with that money personally. We saw the gentleman trading tickets for a BMW. We've seen one company caught one of their executive assistants who was responsible for their tickets in Milwaukee. The way they caught her was she was posting pictures of Facebook of her in the suite almost every game. What happens everywhere. The next slide is what we look to do to the market, and it's what we're doing at the household names right now. We create a clear process and a controlled ecosystem. So everything that's happening with tickets for AT&T is happening within their Spotlight TMS instance. Now there's control. I understand who's going where and why. Now I know that the inventory that I have bought as AT&T is getting to my employees first and along with that of everybody else. So they're not lost. They don't know where they're going, right? With Spotlight, it's the universal language to all of the different providers. It creates an efficient workflow, which is incredibly important. We don't walk into our customers and say, I want to track the way you're doing things now. Because the way they're doing things now is generally broken. We walk in and say, we have a very large number of customers who have Spotlight access and Spotlight instances. We're going to lean on their best practice to make sure you get the most out of what you're doing. It gives us real-time uniform reporting, and it helps us understand what the measurable business is. Right? I can go in every day at AT&T and say, who sat in this seat when, how much business did they do with me, and was it worth it? If an auditor shows up and says, Rich, I want to know who was at the Miami Heat Boston Celtics game 2 years ago because somebody told me it was a state senator, then I can find out very quickly and I can prove who it was. We create a cloud technology, a cloud platform that they get to go into and use on a regular basis. It's accessible from anywhere, and it allows them to better use their tickets. So if you go to the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit about Spotlight, and then what I want to do is I really want to help you understand what it looks like. You know, we're relied on to help them determine which tickets drive growth, which ones engage customers, which ones optimize the utilization of the tickets, and help us plan for the future. So the day is no longer, I think this works. I don't really know why. I know exactly why this works. The Boston Red Sox are a terrific piece of business development for me. My Boston Bruins suite hosts, on average, $1 million a game in potential revenue for me, and only costs me about $5,000 a game. right? It's a no-brainer. It's why I'm doing it. So the next time anybody gets upset, the next time anybody comes and starts asking questions, I'm talking about tangible numbers. The next slide will show you a little bit about the traction we have, our current clients and partners. We have a number of household names. This works. Our customers are very outspoken about Spotlight. They love what we're doing, and they're happy to come forward and talk about it. We're very proud that on our website, we don't have those nameless testimonials, so to speak. Our customers are so happy with what we're doing, and we're so happy about working with them. They put their name, their title front and center. Right? This is who I am. It's where I work, and I believe in Spotlight, and it's very humbling. We're very, very proud of that. We partner with 37 pro teams currently, number of teams across a number of different leagues. The largest league right now, we have the most in the NFL, and those team partners they're in the same boat we are. Right? Everybody's trying to work together to make sure the tickets are getting used appropriately. The next slide talks a little bit about our competitive landscape and what we're looking at. As you can see, we're really the only company in the market right now that's focusing on the corporate ticket consumer and on the software piece. Most of the people in the market we're in currently are focused solely on transactions in the ticket consumer, and that's not the best thing for AT&T. Nobody's looking out for AT&T as a whole. Everybody's just trying to sell them stuff. Well, hey, they buy millions of dollars in tickets from somebody else. Why shouldn't they buy anything from me? You're really missing out. Well, what's the tangible number behind that? How are you going to look out for me? How are you going to make sure that my staff is utilizing your platform to make sure that it's the best for our business? Right? Can you tangibly tell me that that's the right thing? It's great that you have a superstar that everybody wants to go watch, but is that going to drive business for me? That's what I need to know. If you check out the next slide, it shows you a quick look of Spotlight. It's a complete ticket universe. When I log into Spotlight, what you're looking at here is a fictitious Spotlight, the blue company. And what you're looking at is what a customer would see. I work at the Bluth company, and it's going to show me all the tickets that are made available to me specifically. If I work in the mailroom, I'm probably not going to see the best tickets the company has. If I'm the senior vice president of sales, I'm probably going to see the best tickets the company has. And the company has that control. And the entire universe is in that one place. I don't go to Ticketmaster for one thing, Tickets.com for another, the team website for another, and StubHub for another. It's all right there. This is the universal language that is Spotlight. It's a centralized portal, as you'll see in the next slide, that shows me what the company owns and then what's available to me outside of what the company owns, whether it's from the teams, whether it's from StubHub, whoever else. This really gives me the opportunity to go in and say, okay, I'd like to use these tickets in Section 12. Maybe I don't want to use them because I know a competitor's sitting there. I can go buy tickets right here within the central portal. But more importantly, that's all being tracked now. Now AT&T knows I did this. Now Motorola knows I did this, any of our customers. And at the end of the day, they can sit down and say, here's where we have traction, and here's where we don't. The most important and exciting thing about what we're doing next is how our tickets are going to find you, and it's our next slide. What we've done, we've integrated with Salesforce.com. That's our first integration. We've got a number more coming on the way. And what that means is, if you work at a firm that uses Salesforce.com, Spotlight is fully integrated into the app exchange of Salesforce.com. You don't have to leave Salesforce.com to get your ticket. You tie it directly into your sales automation, and everything is tracked. We are meeting the customer where they live. I no longer have to go looking for tickets. My ticket's going to find me. And as that intelligence builds out, I'm going to know more and more about what kind of tickets that person wants to use and how they're going to use that ticket for that business. And that's really the focus of what we're doing. So what I did want to do, I know we're running a little bit low on time. I do want to go to the next slide, which will be our final slide, which is an understanding of the real-world numbers. So it's great for us to be able to come back and say, we believe this works, and of course we're going to say that. We're trying to sell the product. These are real-world numbers of what we actually see in Spotlight on a day-to-day basis. We had one customer, 100 times ROI potential. We had one customer who had $43 million in potential business in every single suite they had for Houston, Texas. That suite cost somewhere between $15,000 and $30,000 a game, and they're hosting $43 million potential business. That's 5 hours of time in a controlled environment with the best customers you have, and they're coming because they want to come. That's a tangible business use. That's something that makes a lot of sense. 78% of all ticket usage is for new business. The bulk of the majority is for current customers. There are all kinds of different uses outside of that make up the last 6 or 7%. It shows that people are using them for the right reason. They're not buying them just to go themselves and using the company dime. Here's an example. We have one tier 2 customer, a very mid-sized firm, about $150,000 suite. They believe they positively influenced $3.4 million in revenue. Basically what they did was they took how much business the people they took to the suites did versus the ones that didn't, and drew that correlation line and understood it. We avoid massive fines, and we drive ticket utilization. So as we continue to define this market, as people are starting to realize that, hey, not only do I need this because it's going to help me avoid massive fines and it's going to take a lot of risk off my plate, I want it. I want to be in a situation where my staff has the ability to leverage a powerful tool and do so from one specific place. They're not running around wasting time anymore. It's all right here. I make sure it's in front of them. I make sure I'm getting information from them that I need. The teams make sure they're getting the right thing in front of them. Everybody wins. So that's Spotlight in a nutshell. I wanted to know if you had any questions to discuss.
Well, sure, Tony. I guess, you have all this information in one place. How do you get that? Is it just that they all go through the Salesforce interface and therefore you can track it? Or what's the magic?
The magic, so the providers, whether it's StubHub or Teams or Tickets.com or any of them, we actually pull directly from their systems. So we're a platform. We're not rebuilding what they're doing. So if you go into Spotlight, whether you're doing it through Salesforce.com or you're doing it through your Outlook or you're doing it actually logging into your company's Spotlight, you're going to see tickets available from StubHub directly and at the same price that they're available from StubHub. Right? We're putting that entire market in front of you. So the secret sauce really is the fact that we're third-party objective. Right? We don't have a conflict of interest. We're not trying to get them to buy more tickets. We don't own any tickets. That's not our business. What we're trying to do is say, we're going to track everything you're doing. We're going to help you do that. And in order to do that, we're going to bring in all of the biggest providers and make sure that they're offering the best offering they can to you. And it's a win-win for everybody. AT&T wants the best stuff in there. The customer wants the best stuff in there. And the vendors, they want to sell to the right customer. So it's really opening up intelligence to allowing the user to get the best of what's out there.
So, Tony, these are some pretty compelling numbers you're putting out here. While you were talking, I did a little napkin top calculation, $16 billion worth of tickets, but 43% unused. That means $6.9 billion worth of tickets are sitting there empty. So my question to you is, you must have know where the Packer tickets are that I can go see the games then. Do you know where these tickets are?
They're definitely out there, and unfortunately, they're in drawers. That's where they are. There's two answers to that, really. One, almost every company right now that isn't using a software like Spotlight, isn't using a platform, is wasting a lot of tickets. Everyone will come back and say, "Oh, but we're different," but they're really not, right? We'll always take that Pepsi challenge with them. They're not using their tickets, and it's because you have different people in different places who have different agendas who are managing the tickets. And we can usually get that rate up 20 to 30% in the first year. There are, however, instances where what we call effective waste, and this is a term that was coined by one of our customers, where I'll give an example. Let's say you are taking one of your biggest customers to the game, and there's 5 of them involved. So if you call them and say, "I'm going to invite the 5 of you," but you actually have 15 tickets in that suite. You're not going to go try to find 10 people just to fill out the suite. Right? You've achieved what you want with that suite. You've got the 5 biggest customers in the suite, alone with you in a unique environment that's exclusive, spending time and building a relationship with you. So at the end of the year, if you go back and look at that stack of tickets, and you say, "Oh, wow, I wasted 10 tickets for that game," that is 67% waste. You and I would both say with tangible numbers that that's actually not waste. That's why you bought the suite in the first place. So that would be an effective waste. So to answer the question, 43% is enormously high, and we will cut that by 20 to 25% in year one. However, 100% ticket use is actually probably not the goal you're looking for, right? If you're focused on using 100% of your tickets, you may be losing some of the exclusivity that you're looking for with those tickets.
So, while you were talking, I was thinking, I used to work at a big company, Sun Microsystems, and just as an example, but I would have like a sales guy call on me, and everyone was supposed to buy the ads through me for this one publication, but they didn't. And you think that sales guy would tell me who the other people he was dealing with at the company, I'd suddenly see an ad for Sun on this publication. He wouldn't tell me anything. So I can just imagine at something like AT&T, where these guys got multiple ins, right? And like you say, they're just in there to sell.
That's what they're there to do. And what we really look to do in those workflows is we look to capture that information. We need to make sure that whatever that channel is they're using for tickets or they're using to drive business, we want to capture that information, right? And that's why it's an open platform. We put embedded businesses that are, trustworthy. We're not going to put any inventory in there that's not. And we've seen it all. I mean, we've definitely seen it all. And so there's a control happening from the top down and from the bottom up. The control from the bottom up is the sales guys want to use it because it's the best place to get what they're looking for. But the good news is, the guys at the top down also have control of the expense report, right? If you go and buy tickets outside of Spotlight and you don't follow the rules, they can just make sure they don't pay you back for those tickets. So it's very easy for them to control their ecosystem and make sure that everybody's staying within that cloud that they're providing.
So, Tony, you've been out there for a while with this, and you got some big name customers like Oracle, etc. Kind of a wrap-up question here. What kind of reactions are you getting from these customers?
We get the whole gamut. We get the forward-thinking customers, the early adopters that say, thank heavens, right? We've been looking for this forever. Goodbye Excel spreadsheet forever. We've had some customers who had built their own systems that just can't wait to throw them away. As you can assume, there are a lot of customers that we run into where, the chief compliance, the top executives see the value in this immediately and want to do it immediately. But there are definitely people who do not want to see a ticket management system in their company, right? They're responsible for the tickets. They're very popular because of it. They are the king or queen of their own fiefdom. Generally, it's a very simple rule of thumb, right? If you're adverse to a ticket management system and you own tickets, unfortunately, that's usually smoke. Where there's smoke, there's usually fire, right? Somebody who doesn't want to be tracked, it's usually for a reason. So we see both, right? We see that, and in general, the response has been very good. We're growing very rapidly. We're very excited about everything we're doing, and and everybody's taking notice on the sports team side and the provider side. We're starting to do some great integrations with them, and I firmly believe within the next 5 years that nobody will be using Excel to manage their tickets anymore.
Yeah, it would just seem, in these days of compliance and watching where every dollar goes, that something like this just makes perfect business sense. It looks like a great solution, Tony.
I'm going to quote you on that.
You can do that. That'd be my pleasure. So, well, Tony Knopp, I want to thank you for coming on the show today.
No, I really appreciate you guys having us. It's an honor and a privilege, and hopefully we talk again soon.
Okay, terrific. Okay, folks, that's it for the Rich Report. Stay tuned for more news and information on the world of startups.